Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. We're going to be continuing our series with the playoff predictions for the NFL, and this time we're going to be taking a look at the AFC North and division, one of the most aggressive and self-cannibalizing divisions would want to say in the last couple of years. All these teams just beat each other up to the pulp by the time the playoffs roll around. And I just want to take a deep dive into what I expect will happen at the end of the season. So starting off, we want to take a look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. And coming off one of the worst losses of their season, especially considering that they also lost prior to the New England game against the Cardinals, which what do these two teams have in common? Both these teams were 2-10 to entering the time they were facing the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the Pittsburgh Steelers started off 7-4 and dropped their last two games within the last 5 days. And Steelers fans right now are definitely are going through it. And I will say that it does not get any easier going forward, I predict. So, a little background about the Steelers this season is that they're starting to find or figure out essentially what their offense is going to look like going forward. Kenny Pickett was a huge question mark going into this season on whether or not he'll be the franchise quarterback that the Pittsburgh Steelers have been looking forward to ever since Ben Roethlisberger retired. And under Matt Canada, who is no longer with the team anymore, it seems like he has picked it up, but due to the fact that he got injured in the Cardinals game, it means that they have to rely on their backups, which in this case is former Bears legend Mitchell Trubisky and or Mason Rudolph. Both these quarterbacks aren't the most well-rounded or put together quarterbacks, I will say. However, I will say that it does give them slight chance given how good that defense is. I will say their linebacker core is definitely the weakest part right now due to a culmination of injuries that do happen and tend to happen in this division. So going to their record currently is 7-6, and currently that means that they are in the middle of the pack of a wild card spot. And this team was supposed to be knocking at a door at at clinching a playoff berth with these last two games. However, dropping these two games and not looking like their complete self as a Mike Tomlin run team poses a lot of issues when it comes to playoff implications. And their schedule doesn't show it's going to get any better. They're facing Indianapolis, who in the AFC is showing to be on the uprise right now, and can definitely be a challenge for this team, who had struggled against a New England team that literally could not get any offense going throughout this whole season. Their offense looked anemic, and yet they looked like prime Tom Brady was playing in Bailey Zappi. So, given that Gardner Minshew starting this game against Indiana, I don't see them winning that game. Similarly, I see them dropping Cincinnati and Baltimore due to the fact that these teams are, while Cincinnati lost Joe Burrow, Jake Browning is proving to be a good replacement for Joe Burrow at the moment, based on what I saw in the Jacksonville game. And yes, Baltimore is at the top of the division and has a clear shot at victory at this point. So I would say their only potential victory could be against Seattle, just because it just feels like such a trap game for Seattle, thinking that it's Pittsburgh, it shouldn't be that bad. It's at Seattle. I don't know, something about it. And Seattle has been also posed to have some inconsistent moments as well. So I feel like it's only it's only fair that the at the end of the season, the record shows to be 8-9 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Moving on to the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns have had also similarly tough season so far, given that Deshaun Watson went down, and like they're anemic in the quarterback room. Definitely is not the best situation when it comes to an offense trying to find its stride this late in the season. DTR, or Dorian Thompson-Robinson, has been posed to be this young quarterback, undrafted, still trying to find his stride within the NFL. Did make some noise in the preseason, however, didn't have a shot when it comes to Deshaun Watson coming back. PJ Walker is also another part of their quarterback room who has been made splashes here and there. And right now, since both of them are injured right now, and PJ Walker doesn't seem to be the best situation, they bring in good old Joe Flacco. A blast from the past, former Baltimore Raven legend, Super Bowl champion. 38 years old is crazy to be starting in the NFL as a quarterback. I mean, Tom Brady did it, but this is Joe Flacco we're talking about. He did really well against the Rams, I will say, but that luck probably will run out, given that their strength of schedule. So looking at the schedule and their current record, the current record is 7-5, which is good. It's a good start. It's a good solid position to be in. And one key point is that their defense is elite with Myles Garrett leading the charge. However, their defense is starting to get a little bit banged up right now, and it's going to be posing some issues down the line. So I see Jacksonville could be a win only if Trevor Lawrence is healthy. If Trevor Lawrence is healthy, I don't see the team winning due to their offense being very wishy-washy right now. I don't see it. Chicago, I feel like, is just a trap game. I think that it's very likely that Chicago could pull it out a win. Even though the defense does pose a threat to the offense for Chicago, I still think that the offense can't keep up for the Cleveland Browns due to the fact that the Bears have also improved their defense. And Houston, CJ Stroud, I just don't see the Browns winning that game. I don't know, they're well coached. The defense has found its stride with Will Anderson. And for the Texans, CJ Stroud is still in the mix for MVP. Yeah, it just doesn't look good. New York Jets, however, I do see them, while the New York Jets do have a defense that literally should be separated from the team, given how awful the offense is for the New York Jets, I think that the Browns will still win. And then they finally end the season with a L in Cincinnati, just because it's an AFC North division game, and I just don't see the Browns pulling it off. But they do have a respectable 9-8 record at the end of the season, which will be pretty helpful when it comes to the rest of the AFC as well. And now moving on to the Baltimore Ravens. And the Baltimore Ravens have been such a very, very interesting team to watch over the course of this season. The Baltimore Ravens, with Lamar Jackson, the resurgence of Zay Flowers, have as a young rookie wide receiver, and overall the offense starting to find its stride. There were some hiccups here and there. However, they were able to still beat very good teams and show how that they are a dominant team to going forward this season. However, they do have some question marks when it comes to consistency in the offense. Lamar Jackson tends to show some inconsistency when it comes to the pass game, and it can pose issues when it comes to moving the ball around. Then again, his running ability, his ability to extend plays with his feet can definitely still add an extra layer of weaponry to this arsenal that is the Ravens offense. But that's not the main key point of this team. The key point is their elite defense. And I think you can probably see a common theme when it comes to the AFC North and its aggression is that they tend to have great defenses. And it seems to be a theme when it comes to why this team and even the rest of the teams in the division beat each other up, because their offenses just get canceled out by their defense, and the Baltimore Ravens are just no different. Their defense really led by Roquan Smith, and Queen, and the rest of their core with their defensive linemen and Mike McDonald as their defensive coordinator. Everything is going really well in that defensive front and can definitely be a game changer when it comes to facing elite quarterbacking and offenses down the line in the playoffs. Their current record right now is 9-3, and looking at their strength of schedule down the line, I feel like they'll win out with a few losses here and there to teams such as San Francisco, for an example. San Francisco has been unanimously in the past couple of weeks looked like the better team when healthy. I just feel like the Ravens aren't ready yet to face San Francisco right now. And as long as they win against the Los Angeles Rams, the Jacksonville Jaguars, which should be pretty solid wins. Miami is a win, I would say, because they haven't beaten teams above 500 yet. So I will say that that's definitely going to be a factor. But we don't know yet. Anything can change right now. But I would say based on what I know right now, I would say Miami is a surefire win. And then Pittsburgh while Pittsburgh does have its struggles, I will say that that they should definitely take the win. That's my bad. That they should definitely win this game. Even though earlier in the season the Pittsburgh Steelers did beat the Baltimore Ravens, and it was the most ugliest game I've ever seen. One of the ugliest games I've ever seen, because they definitely played down to their competition, didn't play elite ball. A lot of missed opportunities for the Baltimore Ravens wide receivers, and I feel like they get their get back at the end to end the season, and then at the end of the day they end 13-4 actually. My bad. Sorry about that. To end the season with 4 out of the 5 wins, and I just feel like Baltimore is definitely one of the top teams in the NFL, and they've been in a lot of people's power rankings over the course of the season, and I just don't see them steering away from that anytime soon. And then finally, looking at the Cincinnati Bengals, the Bengals have been such an interesting team over the course of the season. I feel like this season has definitely been ups and downs, have been very high, very low. Started out the season with Joe Burrow having a calf injury and not looking like himself, and then showing that he can come back from the injury and proving that he was able to make plays with Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Joe Mixon finding his stride as well. And then tragedy strikes when Joe Burrow goes down with the wrist injury and been sidelined out for the rest of the season, which definitely takes them out of any hopes of going back to the Super Bowl back in 2022. But I will say, when they faced Jacksonville on that Monday Night Football game, that they did change a lot of people's mind with Jake Browning. Jake Browning, if he continues to play the level like he did back in that game, where he was just dishing and diming, and it wasn't screen passes or anything like that. It was actual offense in passing the ball in the middle of the field, making plays, extending the field. And if he continues to do that, I see this team still in the mix of the playoff contention. Obviously, I'm not saying that he's going to completely revitalize this team, be the next Joe Burrow. That's not what I'm saying right now. I'm just saying Browning proved in just one game, that he can change the outcome of what the season ended up being. And this season, for sure, for Cincinnati Bengals fans, has been really up and down. So I predict that in the last couple of games that they will still lose to Indianapolis, because it would just be like a down-to-earth game for Browning. Indianapolis is still on the high right now when it comes to winning games, with Gardner Minshew and Shane Steichen as their coach. They have been having a great season. And then Minnesota is a win for sure. That should be Minnesota. Yeah, okay, that's Minnesota. Pretend I said Minnesota. Pittsburgh is also a W, just because it's at Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh has already been kind of out of the running right now. Kansas City as well, I would say, is like an L, just because Patrick Mahomes at this point of the stage of the season, he tends to find his stride. Even though he has a bad stretch of games, I feel like this isn't the same team as in the past with Joe Burrow facing Patrick Mahomes. Both these teams have their relative issues. And to cap off the season, I would say they still win against Cleveland. And yeah, so they end the season with a 9-8 record. Pretty solid. So if we see like a consensus, overall, this should be 13-4. I apologize for my mistakes. Overall, the average is literally 8 wins, I would say. And it's crazy to think that this team, while it does cannibalize itself, it still manages to win games. Like the Pittsburgh Steelers being 8-9 is crazy enough. And on top of that, Mike Tomlin has never had a season below 500. And I feel like this is the first season where he does. He actually does. And as good of a coach Mike Tomlin is, I just don't think that he will just come short. That's all it is. And the Baltimore Ravens will be at the top of the division. Cleveland Browns will be number 2 and tied with the Bengals. I just feel like there will be point differentials that will edge them out. And then finally Pittsburgh will be last in the division, barely making it to a wild card or even getting out for the playoffs as well. So yeah, that's my finals prediction. Let me know what you think. Do you think that either of these teams have a shot of winning more games, or do you think that some teams else should actually be wins? Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, thank you and thanks for watching.